So the good news is I listened to every minute of the Final Word podcast on Sexy Liberal Podcast Network and Idiot of the Week. The bad news is I listened to every minute of the Final Word on the Sexy Liberal. So I had to text Francis this week, and I said, really, Francis? I understand it was before the Chauvin verdict came in. You were a little tense.
It was.
We are all sharing one frayed nerve. But the very dignified Francis Eleanor Callier actually said, I'm going to kick that judge in the C word.
Yeah. In a minute.
And I said, is that what they teach, the Callier-Holinsky method? Because is that the sort of behavior? Is that the sort of thing?
That's a graduate level course.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
That's not for your BA or your BS, as we call it.
Yes. You're in your feelings.
That was an outburst, Francis. That was an outburst. Yeah. Yes, it was.
It was. It was uncontrolled. And you saw, we came back and we recorded something after it came. And I said, you're going to hear some things in this podcast that might be upsetting. I'm going to use some language.
Feel some feelings. Yeah. You were in your feelings. Uh-huh. I mean, in your defense, you are the right height to kick the judge right in the.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. And I did say it's been all the anti-Asian hate you've been experiencing since
Thank
COVID.
You,
that probably
Stephanie, for your sensitivity.
Okay. All right. God. Well, listen. Travis? Do we have that booking? That thing that's happening on Tuesday, or no? We don't know.
They will probably confirm with us on Monday or at the very last minute, knowing the way that office usually works. Yes.
Okay, Francis, I felt the same way you did about the judge's thoughts about Maxine Waters. I was like, what the actual...
Oh, my God.
Right? I'm like...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. She has, first of all, yes, she is a congressperson, but before she's a congressperson, she is a Black woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets to have an opinion.
And a civil rights activist for years. And she's talking...
4 years. I got to listen to Jim Jordan be justified.
Yeah. No, I can't hear it.
Maxine Waters can't speak on one of the most important cases of history in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't, after their former president called the people from an entire country rapists and gang members. I can't with the Maxine Waters is the person that this judge, that anybody points out is saying, like, are you kidding?
And she clearly was talking, Angela, about protest as she has for 40 of her 80 years on the planet that she's been in the streets protesting. She clearly was talking about protesting and not inciting violence. And and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who retweeted something about the way to shut Nancy Pelosi up is to shoot her in the head, who has incited actual violence that happened at the Capitol. Sorry.
Thank
Angela.
you. And who carries a gun onto the floor against the rules? I mean, no matter what she says, she goes armed. She's harassed a high school student. Yeah. And been threatening to people. Like, they don't care about, I can't with the lie of, ooh, this is irresponsible. Are you serious? It's ridiculous.
And then Stephanie, I also have to speak about lies and that, the creation of the narrative on the other side of, I watched Fox that night put out the narrative that the only reason that we got a guilty conviction in the Chauvin trial is because the jurors were afraid of being attacked. And I find that so dismantling of America and our judicial system.
Yeah.
And,
and blatantly racist. Blatantly racist. Yeah. I mean, blatantly. Yes. They were afraid of rioting. They're afraid of Black people. So
Yes.
He wasn't really guilty, but
He wasn't.
Yeah. Should we torture, because we love Frangela the most. I mean, they're really kind of the most family. Do we torture them with Tucker Carlson's evil Batman laugh? Because I feel like.
Oh, no.
I feel like the Chauvin verdict has made him finally lose his marbles. Like, they were you could tell they were so mad that they didn't have rioting, like angry black people footage to show and go, oh, look what Biden's doing, right?
Yeah.
To America.
Yeah, you saw them following people through the streets, and they, and really you could tell that they were just hoping for it. And I'm just watching apologist black people on Fox all night talk about, that we're losing control in this country, and this is a leftist agenda. I'm like, there was a man who was killed in the streets by a police officer. If we can't put this person in jail, we have lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Angela, were you surprised by the verdict? What was your guys' reaction in the moment?
I didn't realize how nervous I was about it till the judge sat down with the envelope. And then my heart literally was racing. And I knew I was, obviously it's been foremost on all of our minds, but I didn't know I was that but I knew at 11 hours, I knew it wasn't a hung jury because they wouldn't let them do that, so that either meant it was really good or really bad. Yeah. And I just thought with that level of jury, the way the jury makeup was, which is unfortunate, that by the makeup, by the little bit of biographical or sort of information we have about these people, that is how we decide whether or not justice will be done. That none of us really believe that people sit there and they don't bring all that in with them, to the point where I went, this is too diverse a jury to get all of those people to agree to a total exoneration. So it's like, he's guilty of at least 2 of these counts. But at 11 hours, I was like, it'll be 3.
Yeah, I felt like as great as this week was, hopefully, and but I have to say, Francis, wasn't it? Do you feel like this says everything about where we are? That we're like, the whole thing was on tape, the whole police department testified against him, like everything, and we're still like, oh, chewy nails, like, oh, are we gonna?
Yeah. It's disgraceful, and the fact that and has been really sad is just watching the emotional draining of Black people, and I mean from commentators and newscasters down to my family who live in Minneapolis, who are in Minnesota, and I have a ton of family there, and and we had been going back and forth right before, and again, everybody is scared and frightened, and and that's what I was mostly afraid of. I want justice for his family first, or accountability. Can't even use the word justice. Accountability for his family, but also I wanted everybody to be safe, and the thing is that, and Angela and I talked about it too, if they did not come back with a guilty verdict, I don't know if I could not have not taken off my clothes and walked out in the street and started burning things. I don't know if I had that kind of control.
We're in the middle of, Dante Wright's funeral, as literally right after that verdict, and in the midst of now Columbus, so it becomes a blur, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think you can't remove the context of January 6th from any of this, because I simply cannot hear any of these Republicans who still call themselves Republicans, any of these people in Congress or the Senate or whatever, talking about extremist left violence when there isn't any. When Heather Heyer wasn't killed by liberal leftists, there is no such thing. When Kyle Rittenhouse, not liberal lefty. It's January 6th, like these people, they literally right now are arguing in Congress, in the House, that if the scope of looking at January 6th must include looking at left wing or left radical violence, also when it's just a lie. It's a myth.
Yeah.
And here we go. Here's an example of another situation. I really appreciated Maddow's show. It was the night before last, because when she said, look, there were 3 shootings today of unarmed Black people today. And it's just Wednesday for Black people.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. And I think that in this context, I look at this whole situation and I'm like, I can't with this. It was great. We needed that verdict, but it is like, this is what it took.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and will the stars align again like that in the next case and the next case?
They were shooting somebody when they were reading the verdict. It's like you just can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And to listen to people say that the systemic racism, it doesn't exist, is a continuous slap in the face of people of color and people who experience this type of violence in their communities.
Yeah. Well, and Frances, you have a daughter. I don't know what your take on this. Columbus, Ohio shooting, as Angela was just implying, in the middle of, was it Dante Wright's funeral? Or the reading of the verdict?
It was a Chauvin verdict.
Chauvin verdict.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I get it's a totally different case, but it's just, you can't help but go, how come the black person always ends up dead, whether it's a teenager or whatever, and Kyle Rittenhouse gets taken out for, burgers and gets, donations from cops.
Water.
Yeah.
I have a 15-year-old, and I saw some people, and it's so interesting how we immediately go to, the cops were trying to save the other person's life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, that is, if we think that walking up and pumping 4 bullets into somebody is effective policing, we need to take a look at our own humanity.
Yeah.
We need to take a look at what we think is justified. And I'm not talking about white people saying it. I've heard black people saying it. And that makes me go, it makes me say, you have to think about how your expectation of your treatment from this system.
And the problem is, Republicans' reaction is vote against the George Floyd Policing Act because, this verdict makes it now less important, less necessary. You know what we'll do? We'll make it illegal to film cops, as they're trying to do in some states. We'll make it legal for you to run over a protester with your car that you don't like what they're protesting. I mean, it's like it's like opposite world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they understand this. I saw this tweet, and I'm in no way do I agree with this sentiment, but somebody tweeted, does that mean we can run over people protesting at abortion clinics?
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
Slippery slope.
You want to play?
Slippery slope.
Yeah.
If your car is a weapon against the First Amendment, you're right. It's whatever you don't like somebody's protesting. We don't like Proud Boys. We don't like Oath Keepers.
Never happen again. Yeah. Don't even think you get to protest again, Klan. And why? Because it's absolutely insane. And the assault on free speech, as they are continually talking about cancel culture. But after January 6th, I watched hundreds of white people actually attacking police, and only one of them got shot, and she got shot once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After being warned and warned and warned. The problem we have is that black people, when all over this country, cops, no matter what their color is, it seems when they're dealing with black people, they only have one tool, and that's their gun. They have nothing else. And they shoot people within, how long was that cop out of the car for my Keisha? It's not even, I think it was seconds.
Yeah.
And you're assessing a situation and shooting?
Yeah.
And
you pump bullets?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was my question. What about even one shot? You're right. 4 kill shots? That was the only option.
This woman had hundreds of people with her. They were physically breaking into the Capitol. They had erected a gallows. They were shouting, "Hang Mike Pence," and one person got shot one time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 120 officers have, all kinds of injuries. Horrible.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
Yeah.
As far as, the GOP is concerned.
Yeah. Travis.
On that subject, actually, CNN is reporting this morning that judges are seeing body cam footage from these officers who are being dragged and beaten that has not been released to the public yet. There is video out there that's graphic that we haven't even begun to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's from your pro-police crowd. Okay. All right. 20 minutes after the hour. We're at Black Power Hour is, can I just say, off to it, right? After we, dealt with the whole kicking the judge in the thing. We're off and running, man. 20 minutes after the hour, this portion of the Stephanie Miller Show. Oh, no, it's not brought to you by anything this time except for Frangela's goodness, and we'll be right back.
Yes.
You want to get nuts? Come on! Let's get nuts.
It's the Stephanie Miller Show.